Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is facade. Facade. Now, sometimes you get on the outside of a building, you see some nice little pretty thing on the outside, but then you really get back behind it and see that, man, it's just for show. A lot of times you know this is true just by the part of the house that's facing the road and the rest of it, or a building, not just a house. And you think about storefronts and stuff. Sometimes in those places that even like downtown, right, they'll have the front built up real nice, but the back may be all falling apart. Well, sometimes I believe that's how we treat God. We put up a facade and we put up a front, and then behind it is really just ugliness. And God sees right through that. And so we also try to do it to others, and we think that we fooled them. Well, like everything, the truth will find us out. The truth does set us free, but it also has a way of finding out and revealing our sin and deception. And that's what you see here today in Genesis 27. Is you see Rebecca. Let's give her a little credit. Let's think about it on both sides. So part of it, she hears Isaac tell Esau, going out to the field because it's about time for me to die. I don't know how much longer I have. He was in bad health, couldn't see, and he says, "Look, Esau was his favorite of the two. Rebecca favored Jacob. And that's a problem in and of itself that parents had favorites." And then she overhears him say, "Well, hey, go fix me something. Come back in. We'll eat, and then I will bless you." So he leaves. And because Rebecca's heard this and she wants Jacob, right? That favoritism, she wants Jacob to get the blessing instead. Now, it's easy for us to say, well, she knew that was her favorite, so that's why she was pressing him forward. But let's also remember that she knew the promises that Isaac had received about even Jacob and Esau, right? She had received the word before they were even born that there was two nations here and that the older would serve the younger. So let's give her a little bit of credit and say that she was trying to go ahead of God, and she was kind of doing like Sarah did earlier when she invited Hagar into the mix. And it's almost like she's following in that example in the same way that Isaac follows in the example of Abraham and lies about Rebecca being his sister. But it seems to be that this idea of a facade is put up with all of them, and not that we're any different, but they put up this front about faith, and then when you get down behind it, there is a lack of faith, and there is a lack of trust, and there is uneasiness, and there is worry and concern, and we do the exact same thing. Notice though today one verse I want to look at that shows us how determined she was, and if it was because Jacob was her favorite and she was trying to really rob Esau of it, then she's really wrong. And she's wrong for being deceptive anyway, wrong for trying to trick Isaac and try to take God's will into her own hands. But at least if she was trying to do it for the right reasons, you could show her a little bit more grace. But notice when Jacob, he doesn't have any problem with what his mother's saying. His only concern is that he's going to get caught. And what Rebecca says tells me about the determination in her life in verse 13 today, Genesis 27. But his mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me." And that's when she was telling him what to go get and how he's going to prepare this meal. And then he's going to do all these things to deceive his father Isaac so that he will receive the blessing instead. And you read through the chapter and you can see that he is successful in being deceptive. Jacob even puts up a facade himself, puts up an Esau front. And then at the end of the day, he ends up having, at the end of the chapter, you see he has to leave. Rebecca again intervenes, and she's like, "Well, I could lose both of my sons today because one, Esau's going to kill you when he finds out, and then they're going to kill Esau because he killed you. He was going to be stoned to death. I mean, I can't lose them both." So she tells him to leave, and she's thinking, "Well, he'll be back in a few days." She had no idea it'd be 20 years. till she saw her son again. See, there are times that we have caused so much pain on ourselves because we put up a front that we had faith, and we even this is what I said. Let's give her the credit, and let's just look at it from that view today. And that could be wrong. It could be the fact that she was all bound and determined that her favorite was going to get it. But let's be honest. If she had been that close to the situation and knew the promises of God, but she thought, well, you know what? Maybe God just wants me to do this part on my own. And I believe that Satan whispers in our ear that we have to do something to help God. And there is a fine line of times where God calls us to do the things that we can do. And at other times, he says he will step in and do what only he can do. So in part of that, we have to be close to God. We have to make sure that we're staying in our studies, in our Bible, it's spending time in prayer so that we are not believing the lies of Satan, that we're not putting up a facade, but that this is not just a house that has one part that is faith, but the whole house is built on faith, and it's built on the foundation of Jesus Christ. Otherwise, even today, we see it in Christian, quote unquote, Christian churches all across the globe, that people claim to be Christians, yet it's just a front to hide whatever else is behind them. Today, let's be encouraged by the fact that God still blesses Jacob. God still uses him in the way that he said he was going to anyway. But let's also stop and think for a moment about how often are we waiting on God, trusting in him to do what he has already promised, and how many times are we trying to go ahead of him to say, well, you must want me to do this for you. There's a fine line between obedience and disobedience, a fine line between a desire to do something and flat arrogance that God can't do it without you. Let's understand, there was not a single one of us here when God spoke all things into existence. I'm pretty sure he doesn't need our help. Today, let's just trust him, and let's build our house on Jesus. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.